Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of Red Dot Forum Camera Talk. As always, I am your host, David Farkas, joined by my co-host, Josh Lehrer.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing?
And as always, over there, I always get this wrong, but right there.
Hey,
I got it this time.
You nailed it.
Nailed it. Right over there in a little box, we've got Jose Rivera producing the show. And thank you for tuning in on our regularly scheduled appearance on Saturday
Finally
night.
back on a Saturday night as opposed to all the random days and we've been doing.
Yes.
But, we're busy, okay? We got stuff to do.
We're busy. We've been traveling. We've been doing things. We've been...
It's all right, though. But we're happy to be back.
Yes.
We've had all kinds of stuff. I don't even remember we did two-part travel because we couldn't cover it all in the first episode on that.
It was just bursting at the seams.
I know, which, we had a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But this episode is a little bit different.
It is.
I feel like in some way it kind of takes us back to some of the stuff we did maybe 3-4 years ago, which we kind of got away from as there were so many product launches, so much gear to cover.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about what tonight's show is all about. What do you think it's about? And then I'll tell you what I think it's about.
Wait. I thought you were going to say, I tell you what I think it's about, and then you tell me what it's actually about.
That's usually how it goes.
Right.
But in this case, I think, yeah.
Well, thankfully, we've actually discussed this. So
For once, we've planned out something. I'm shocked.
Pretty sure I'm going to say at least 10% on the same page.
Yeah, which is 9% more than usual, so it's fine.
So this is about Leica Myths and Legends. You mentioned going back in one of our previous episodes, which was Leica Fact or Fiction. It's actually not like that. Fact or Fiction was more, and if you haven't seen it, it was a fun episode. Go back and watch it. Was more like, oh, you can't shoot at f2 in the rain. It's like, I don't know, why not, right? This one is more about the myths, the lore, and the legends that make Leica as a company and its products so unique.
There are a few things from the fact or fiction side that will cross over into what we talk about.
We can't help ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yes, Leica is a very unique company in that it has a pretty large presence in the world of photography, but it's really quite small. And it has a fascinating backstory with so many iconic figures and iconic products and things that were these defining moments for the brand where it could have gone either way, and the fact that it's still here and,
I think you hit the nail on the head. Defining for the brand, but also defining for photography in general. Yeah. And that's one of the really fascinating things about Leica is they've been around longer than everyone else, right? Leica was founded in 1847 as an optics company making microscopes and telescopes. And somewhere along the line, which we'll get into, they created the world's first 35 millimeter camera. And the world was never the same. So we're going to take a look in some detail and kind of try to have a little fun with this.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there's no test at the end.
There's not.
Although there might be.
I prepared a test at the end. So.
There might be a test. You never know.
That's right.
Josh will be like, if you don't answer this right now.
I don't know what power I have over anybody, but
the power of the. I don't know, something.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I got nothing. So. We're not here to bore you or anything like that. Hopefully you're going to find this as fascinating as we do. And we'll weave in kind of the historical legacy and lore and how that applies to today's cameras and lenses and photography in general.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see a through pattern here that it's, I don't know the butterfly effect, but everything is built upon these foundational concepts at Leica and have brought us to where we are today.
I think that's fair to say. I mean, the legacy of Leica is happening still, which is sort of a really interesting thing to think about when it's just a company making photographic tools. You think, well, it's just cameras and lenses, but we are lucky enough to live it every single day. And especially David, who's been around basically since the first Leica came out.
It's the gray.
He actually brought his own Earl Leica here. He's going to show it to us. Sometimes I feel like you've been around that long. But, David has been around, since the early days of Leica almost not being Leica anymore. And, I kind of came in right when the wave really started getting crazy.
Yep.
And it's been really, really interesting to watch, even just in the 15 years that I've been here, how much Leica has changed as a company, how much the culture has changed, the brand, the products, the customers, the overall market. It's very fast moving and very interesting, especially for this very iconic, legendary, long running brand. So as you know, this year is 100 years since the first Leica camera hit the market, the Leica 1, 1925. So we were in Germany. We did a live stream from there. If you haven't seen that, we did two live streams from Wetzlar.
And we did get nicer microphones for next time.
We learned our lesson. Don't bring that up. It's fine. We're blocking that out.
Sorry.
And they're having celebrations all over the world, and there have been a wide range of 100-year edition products that have come out, from this incredible new book that they've done to cameras and accessories and teddy bears and all that.
Gotta have the teddy bears.
So this is a fitting year for us to do this.
I really think so. Yeah.
So why don't I start you off?
Let's go.
Let's talk a little bit about the myth of 35 millimeter film, 35 millimeter photography, which you just talked about.
Yes.
There are some people will say Leica invented 35 millimeter film, Leica invented 35 millimeter photography. Break down the realities of that.
Yeah, let's call that one partially false, but also partially true. Leica did not invent 35 millimeter as a film format. That was Edison and Eastman, right? And yes, that Edison, Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was instrumental in motion picture at the turn of the century. So they came up with this 35 millimeter double perforated movie film that would run vertically through a camera. And in those days, a wooden box, and there's a guy, who would hand crank the film at 18 frames a second. And the frames were about half the size of what we would account for as full frame. Although, if you're in the movie business, it's what you shoot, right? If you shoot 35 millimeter film or have shot 35 millimeter motion picture film. And the thing is, the head engineer or head of R&D at Leica, which was Oskar Barnack, which I think is a household name now, he was an amateur movie maker. And he had one of those big wooden box cameras, but he also had some ailments and some failing health. And for him to take out the really giant tripod and the big box and the film canisters and the whole thing out to just do some home movies was kind of a lot for him. So he was thinking, as an engineer does, what can I do to solve this problem, and how can I experiment with different films so when I do go to shoot, I know what's going to work best? Because film in itself was also an evolving, ever-changing, new type of process, right? So he wanted to experiment with different films without taking his huge kit out with him. So he mocked up what is now the Leica, and in a small format, and he just used the same film but in a horizontal format, and doubled the frame size to 24 by 36 millimeter. And he went to his friend Max Barrick, who was the head of optics, because again, Leica was a optics company making microscopes and telescopes and other scientific instruments. He said, "Oh, do you think you could make me a lens that would project on this size 24 by 36 millimeter format?" And of course he said yes, and they came up with
which I have right here.
Famous lens.
Could you imagine?
He came up with a 5 centimeter lens, which was basically a natural perspective. And he went out, and what became a curiosity personally for Oskar Barnack and Max Barrick, ultimately they presented it to the company, and years later they showed it at the World's Fair, and people went bananas because this was a completely different way to take pictures. Just like the movie camera was a big, bulky apparatus, people taking photographs, you think back to pictures from the Old West where a photographer would have an entire wagon and, with his dark room.
Wait a minute, you mean the same way you go in photo workshops?
Yes.
With a wagon full of gear?
The same way.
Full circle, I see.
With large glass plates that would be hand applied with all this stuff, and they'd be contact printed. So Leica came up with two concepts that were really important, which was the miniaturization of the negative from an 8-inch by 10-inch plate or 4 by 5-inch plate down to a 24 by 36 millimeter frame size with a very high resolution lens like they were used to making for microscopes. Then they also had to create the idea that you could then enlarge that small format onto a big print. So it was kind of a twofer there, right? And it really changed the way that the world took pictures when the Leica 1 eventually came out 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Because to this day, if I look at these cameras here, these are full frame digital cameras, 24 by 36 millimeter imaging area. That still holds true 100 years later. That is still the format that Leica uses. That's the format that every other camera company uses when they're talking about full frame photography. So it's pretty amazing that that format stood the test of time.
Yeah. And also brilliant of him to double the frame size to actually make a meaningful enlargement.
Yes.
Because you could have just kept the 18 by 24 millimeter format.
Sure.
Which also means he invented the 2:3 ratio as well. I happen to be a little bit of a collector of vintage Leica brochures, catalogs, literature, price lists. And for this show, I gathered a couple of relevant things. And the first one I wanted to refer to, just read a quick quote. This is the brochure or whatever, a catalog that Leica came out with to celebrate their 50 years in 1975.
That's amazing.
So 50 years ago,
wow,
this was printed in United States, dated 1975. And there's a great little, very short sort of quote from Oskar Barnack. It says, for a long time he used a 13 by 18 centimeter view camera, but recalled, I had to lug much equipment during my Sunday hikes in the forest. Whenever I climbed to the peaks, I thought the following, is there no other way? So like you said, the engineer mindset, is there no other way?
Sure.
And of course, he had the wherewithal and the technical knowledge to make another way. And we all have him to thank for that. Yeah, there's more good stuff in here, but if
that's really cool.
Yeah, I have a lot of really cool stuff. If you have like old collections of Leica stuff like that, please send them to me that you're not using, because
you'll be Josh's friend.
I need, especially like from the 80s and 90s. That's where it's like my biggest gap in my collection right now. But
yeah.
Anyway, so yes, it changed photography. It changed the world, and the first picture that he took with that camera is very famous as well.
Yep, and you could go there. It hasn't changed much.
Yeah, there's actually there's a, what do they call it?
It's a manhole cover.
No, but what's the German term for that? Like the Eisenmark or something like that?
Oh, the place. Yeah, Eisenmark.
Yeah. Where he took the first Leica photo, which is...
Yeah, but they actually mark the ground with a little
it's
thing.
pretty cool.
And you can stand on it.
And there's always a white van in the way when you try to take that photo.
There's always a white van. Everywhere in Europe, there's always a white van.
I know, it's torture. So yes, it is so significant and so easy to forget. Now, Leica did celebrate 100 years of the Leica in 2014.
They did.
So there was obviously some recognition of it then, 100 years later. I couldn't find anything in my literature celebrating any of the other like 50, or it seems like it all was starting from 1925. Yeah. So it was actually kind of cool that they celebrated that. And they also, what was Lights Park open at the same time, right? 2014?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, Lights Park, the Lights Park opening, meaning the opening of when they moved from Solms to Wetzlar was 2014.
Yep.
Also celebrating 100 years since the Leica came in. Now, you've seen the Leica, right?
I have.
Yeah. Did you hold it?
No.
I haven't seen it. No. It's like somewhere in the depths of the vaults at the factory. Yeah. Basically a priceless piece of history.
Yeah.
I want it for the show. I think they'll loan it to us. Just like right here. Imagine David dropping the Leica on air. Everyone, let me show you.
So, listen, I've got a bit of an ask.
You know the right people. That's how you know we'll make it. Maybe we get 100,000 subscribers. Maybe they'll let us borrow the Leica for one of our episodes. We'll probably have to film it in the vault.
In the vault. That would be cool. Very echoey.
Yeah, very echoey. Yeah. So anyway, yes, that I think is probably the Leica legend right there.
Sure.
In terms of the story and the man. There was, I gotta find it now. This is another cool thing that I had, which we'll show later, but in here was actually, this is a book of like old Leica ads, like advertisement magazines. Sure. But one of the cool things they had was, I don't know if you guys can see it here, was this portrait of Oskar Barnack, which was actually, this is the only time it's ever been printed in any kind of publication.
Is that right?
Yeah, at least up until the point that this was published. I was reading through this the other day, and I guess this is like, he sent someone just like a signed headshot, like as a thank you for something, some engineer or something, and they just kept it. And then this guy just found it.
All right, I'm gonna throw you a curveball. It's one we didn't talk about.
Sure, fire away.
All right, so this is an easy one. This is a softball. Okay?
All right, tell me.
So the myth. Leica was named after the dog.
No. Leica was named after a dog.
That's the one. That's the one who sends a spade.
That's right. That was Laika. No, Leica, if you don't know, it comes from an amalgamation of the word Leitz, which was the last name of the founder of the company, and the word camera. It was actually originally Leica, Leca, and they changed it early on to Leica, which just spoke came off the tongue better. So
Yes.
it is.
Told you it was an easy one for
Yes, I know, but it's a good one anyway. So yes, it is. So now, of course, we've come full circle, and the Leitz brand is now back in the fold.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is really interesting, and I can't imagine there are many companies that would do that.
Yeah.
If you look at the new 22 M6 reissue, you see it's branded Leitz. So Dr. Kaufmann, I think he bought back the brand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
And it's Leitz Park.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all the companies fall under Leitz now, which is Dr. Kaufmann's.
Yeah. So we're still Leica, but we're also Leitz now again.
They're Leica cameras.
Yes.
Right?
What's another good myth we want to talk about?
Well, let's talk about.
We have a lot of good ones.
We do. Hold on. All right, wait, let me
get so excited about the first one. I mean, I think we can talk about that one right there.
This one?
Elken, yeah. You want to skip that for now?
Not yet.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about. Let's talk about this. I'm going to ask you.
Oh, that's a fun one. Yeah.
I gave you a really short one, so I'm going to give you another one. You can espouse. Okay.
Yeah.
So, arguably, because the Leica camera was and even the Leica is even smaller than this, because the original Leica camera was so small, it opened up a world of photography to everyone and created largely modern photojournalism and street photography, which we all know and love, right? We're all street photographers as long as you take a picture of a street.
That's right.
Now, arguably the most famous street photographer of all time, who is the founder of street photography, is none other than Cartier-Bresson. Now, Henri Cartier-Bresson, HCB. So Henri, I don't study French, so Henri CB. Henri,
good dude.
So Henri Cartier-Bresson is the inventor of street photography. So,
or about the inventor so much, maybe like one of the pioneers of it.
Pioneers, yes.
Yeah.
Now, when everyone talks about Bresson, they always say, oh, well, it was all about the decisive moment. And Leica, to this day, in their marketing, always talks about the decisive moment. So did Cartier-Bresson actually say the words, the decisive moment?
Well, no, he spoke French, so he did not.
Perfect.
I just thought it was funny. We were talking about this. It was like, oh yeah, Cartier-Bresson, the decisive moment. Well, he didn't speak those words. He actually spoke French. So the title of his book, which I don't even remember what it is in French, is something. That sounds like, I think I had some French words in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it didn't translate literally to decisive moment. So Simon & Schuster, which was his publisher for that book in the US, one of their editors, someone who I tried to find out who, I couldn't. Maybe someone who's watching knows, did the translation for the title from French to English and just thought the decisive moment was apropos. And of course, now it's
stuck.
Iconic. Yeah.
I mean, it's stuck for a long time.
But it is funny to think that, of course, he didn't say it's this decisive moment because he's French. I don't know. Just one of those things.
I think another quote that he said is very telling. If you've heard me, and I think I said it on our last episode, which is, practice just makes less bad. Just keep doing it. The more you do, the less mistakes you make, and eventually get better. And Cartier-Bresson really took that to heart. So even though he was, I guess, of the mindset of capturing the decisive moment, however that was translated, he also said, translated, right? The English translation says this. So I don't know what he said,
Right.
But the words were essentially, your first 10,000 pictures are your worst. Now think about that in the context of shooting with a screw mount, hand wound Leica, where every frame is manually twisted. 10,000 frames, that is a lot of hand winding. So I think it would be equivalent to now in today's, shooting 10 frames a second on digital, that he might say today, your first 250,000 shots are your worst, right?
You think it's that many? And he didn't have, then he had no digitization capability. No. Not at the beginning anyway. It was all just, like you said, done by hand. So, I don't even think I took 10,000 pictures last year or this year so far. So I gotta wait.
So you're still in your worst.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's why nobody sees my pictures. But
perfect.
Yeah. So okay, that's a fun one.
Some of these are. It's kind of that same mindset, and then I think we can work our way.
Yeah. We can talk about Magnum a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can ask you. So talk to me, or maybe the myth of the relationship that Magnum had, not with Leica the company, but Leica the.
Sure.
User experience.
So for those who don't know, Magnum Photos is a photography collective or cooperative. I'm not exactly sure on how they're structured, but essentially it's owned by a group of top photographers, and it's invite only by the membership. So somebody has to nominate them and they have to be voted on, and their work has to be worthy and important enough, or they have potential, or whatever those super secret backroom handshakey type things criteria are, to be invited as an honor to join Magnum Photos. And we've had the honor of having some Magnum photographers grace our walls and give presentations and workshops and things. Be it Alex Webb, who's just talk about street photography in the modern era. I mean, Alex Webb is just a phenomenal photographer. Bruce Gilden, who, let's just say, pushes boundaries and personal space to a new limit. Yeah. And really, brought his own type of thing. We had a great relationship with Konstantin Manos, who unfortunately passed away not that long ago, and he was a longtime Magnum photographer. So these are some of the most significant photographers making some of the most significant work over the last 100 years. And Cartier-Bresson was a founder of Magnum, along with Robert Capa and Chim, and also Rene Burry and others. So the myth that they mainly shot Leica is true. At least 2 out of the 3 founders, Bresson and Capa, did shoot Leica almost exclusively. And a lot of the Magnum photographers over decades were primarily Leica shooters as well. So, and some like Sebastian Salgado, shot famously. He shot 6x7 for a lot of his work, but he also shot Leica as well. So there was some crossover, and I think if you see pictures of all these guys, there's a great one of who was it? Jumping out of an airplane, all in I don't know that one. He's all in paratrooper gear, being photographed by somebody else, taking a picture, falling backwards out of an airplane, and he's got Leicas all over him. Jim Marshall, Leica photographer, famously with 6 Leicas all over him.
Yeah, and even if some of these people maybe at some points weren't using Leica as their main camera, they almost always had one.
Yes,
that's one of the funny things that. I think my first recollection of really experiencing that was our very first trip to New York City, 2010 or 11 or something like that, meeting with professional photographers, meeting with them with the intention of sort of introducing them to Leica, and they're like, oh no, I have an M6, or I have an M8. And we're like, wait, what? I mean, how many people?
They would just pull it out of
yeah, it's crazy. Right. And now, of course, having done this a long time, I'm used to it, but there are so many photographers who may not even want to admit that they shoot Leica for one reason or another, and they may not use it for their main professional work. Maybe they're using medium format or who knows what else. There's lots of great cameras out there, but they always seem to have one. And they use it for their trips. They use it for their personal work. They use it when they want to feel more connected to their photography and their craft. And I found that really, really interesting, and kind of lit a fire to me a little bit. I was like, oh, so there's
some interest here.
When I started, right, I didn't really understand the permeation of the brand into the professional space because I just thought it was so niche. Yeah. And then realizing, no, everybody who's been trained in photography, or whether that's self-taught or taught formally, has some level of appreciation for the brand, whether or not they own the camera. Sure. And I think that's due to not just the legacy, but also the performance of what they can do. And we'll get to that. I want to talk about what we skipped over, the Canada thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Really like that. So the myth is.
Well, I can ask you.
Okay,
I'll ask you because if you want to go into it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. So
all right, we should take some questions after that because we've been talking too much.
Yeah. Sorry, I have this up here. Let's see. I guess I love a good Farkas lecture too. Okay. Thank you for the comment. Okay. So Josh.
Yes.
Here's the myth. Made in Canada, cameras and lenses, not that good. They're better. They're second tier. That's why you always want to make sure that you go for made in Germany.
Incorrect. So Leica had a facility in Midland, Ontario for many, many years, about 40, from the early 50s into the 90s. And at first, it was really just a way to make additional components in a different market. Their biggest market at the time, export market, was North America. They couldn't operate in the US. There was too many complications with like immigration and copyright and all these different reasons. So Canada was the next best choice. And I read a funny anecdote recently about this, which is one of the reasons they picked Midland is because it has the same number of letters as Wetzlar, so they didn't have to change the spacing.
Oh my God.
This is true. This is not like this is real.
That's a myth unto itself.
Yes, because they had to engrave it. They had to take all the spacing.
As I'm looking at the cameras, yes, it's monotype lettering.
Yeah,
it's fixed.
Yeah,
lift.
so they didn't have to change the spacing because the letters that had the same number of letters. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh my God.
I think it was 1952, and really I think the pivotal moment for that was when Walter Mandler, who was initially just to be a short-term 6-month loan to the factory in Canada, ended up, of course, living there and designing some of the most iconic lenses ever. And they started off just making components, and then eventually in the 70s, I think it's the 70s, they actually started making complete cameras.
72, I
something
think.
like that, yeah. Making complete cameras themselves. They brought, or Wetzlar sent the camera manufacturing equipment to Canada, and they could make everything. And of course, they became one of the world's leading optical shops because they were making lenses designed by Mandler. So there are many, many lenses that only were made, many lenses in camera that were only made in Canada. I'm excluding like obscure prototypes and variations. I mean, the mainstream stuff. More famously, I would say the F1 Noctilux.
Sure. Only ever made in Canada.
That's right. A lens that saw 4 iterations, all made in Canada from the very early in 74-ish all the way up into the 2000s. When
2006,
when the version 4 was discontinued and replaced by the current one. So the steel rim, I think somebody pointed out, the 35 Summilux version 1, made in Canada. A lot of the version 2 production was in Canada as well. 50 Summicrons. I mean, many, many, many iconic lenses and cameras were made at the factory in Midland, Canada, and remain iconic and collectible to this day. Some of them extremely rare. Some of them, they made a lot of them. But the Canadian factory was just as important to Leica's success and sustainability as the factory in Wetzlar, and sometimes more so, especially in the early days of the Cold War, when there was a lot of uncertainty in what was going on in Europe, and the factory in Canada could just keep pumping stuff out.
I'm going to give you a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
So, all right, the myth. So there is no more Mandler lenses in the lineup.
Well, technically, yes.
This is a
the 50 Summicron.
Yeah, it's partial.
Version 5,
Yes.
which is the current version, is the same optical design as the version 4, which came before that, which is a Mandler design. So that is interesting to think about that.
Yep.
And I would suspect that a lot of Peter Carba's, especially earlier designs, were paying homage a little bit to what Mandler was doing. He did eventually make his own mark, obviously.
Yep.
But yes,
we'll get into that too.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. Yes, but that is funny. Yeah, the 50 Summicron version 5 is like kind of an unsung hero of the lineup because it's been around a long time. The line's been around even longer, and yet you put that on an M11P, put that on an SL3, it works great. It's great. It's small and it's light and it's easy to use. It's fast to focus. They came in a lot of funky variations. There was a silver one. There was titanium
and gold.
Not of that version.
Not that version. The previous one.
The fifth, that was a Summilux, but that's okay.
Really? No, there was a. Really?
No, version 4 was no. But anyway,
I thought there was.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. There's so many, I kind of lose track. But my point being is, just to come back to the original question or the original myth. So, the Canadian Midland facility produced some of the best Leica products ever. Products that still remain in use today, and that alone should kind of give you an idea of what that factory was capable of. And I think, on the same topic, is there another country you want to talk about?
No, not yet.
You want to talk about that later?
No,
okay.
I have another question about Porto.
Ask away.
Or not Porto. Canada. Thank you. You.
I know. I'm sorry. I screwed you up. Yeah, we'll get to Portugal. Don't worry. I promise.
Okay, so staying on the topic of Canada. So there is a myth out there that the M5 almost tanked Leica. In an effort to create a modern light meter built-in light meter camera, they made this very let's just say non-iconic M shape. Yeah. Right? And deviated from the M3, from the M2, and the M4, and they went to the M5, and it was not well received in the market. Yeah. So this is the story, right? And what really saved Leica from the M5 negative reception was Canada again.
Well, correct. So the M5 was an effort to compete with all the other companies who were making SLRs that had light meters that were easy to use. The M5 was the first production Leica that had a built-in light meter, but as David said, it was quite a bit larger. The first versions also only had 2 strap lugs, so you had to hold it
sideways,
vertically, which was a little bit weird.
Like this.
Now, I think in 2025, the M5 actually has found its own bit of fan base, but
yeah, people love it.
Combined with the struggles Leica already had in a very fast-growing market, especially with companies from Japan coming in, making great products that you can still get today. So at the time, that was when the Midland factory was really gearing up to make M cameras, and they introduced the M4 II. And you would think the M5 would be M4, M4 II, M4P, and then M5, but no, it's a little bit weird because it's M4, M5, and then back to the M4 II, and then and then M4P, and then M6.
And that was late 70s, right?
Yes, yeah. So one of the cool things I also found in my collection was, let me find it here. Here we go. It's kind of delicate, so just give me a second here. This is a what's called a lab report. This was, I think, Popular Photography did this in the 80s. This is 1980. This beautiful thing.
Wait, who wrote it?
Norman Goldberg and Michelle Frank.
Okay, so it wasn't Herb Kepler.
If either of you are watching,
oh my gosh,
I want to eat whatever you're eating.
So a lot of these lab reports were written by Herbert Kepler.
Okay, not this one.
Yeah.
And this is, if you are ever in the Leica store sometime and I'm in Miami, you want to see this, please ask me. They actually did.
Wow, this is
it's incredible. A full teardown.
What?
I don't want to damage this. A full teardown of the M4 II. Yeah, we can do the overhead, I guess. Yeah. Can we get the overhead shot on that? Can you take that real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. This is really, really cool. Here we go. They do a full teardown, and they actually rate material choice, a good modular construction, yes, assembly finish, good, exterior, good. Do frequently made adjustments require strip down? No. So there's like a whole rating on their assessment of the build quality, and the summary was it was excellent. Now, what I'll tell you, the M4 II definitely had teething problems the first couple of years, just getting that design nailed down, especially since Canada was relatively new at that point to making full cameras. Nowadays, any M4 that's still around that's been CLA'd is going to work great. Or excuse me, M4 II that is CLA'd is going to work great. And of course, most of them are lighter than the M4s that came before them because they're anodized zinc versus brass, and the black chrome. So the M4 II, I think when it first came out, yes, there was some weird construction that they were kind of figuring out. I think one of the quotes that I loved, I think it was in here, was a repair technician, was working on an early M4 II, and he says, the camera worked great after I finished making it.
Ow.
It's like, whoa. That's something I would say. But fortunately, it's been a long time since then. Woo. And the real important thing here is the M4 II brought the Leica form factor back to what everybody wanted.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
It reminds me of when Leica went to the M240.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and the M240 in the digital era in 2012 brought about new features. It brought about live view and a CMOS sensor and high ISO performance and, just a fantastic camera. But it was chunky.
A little thicker, yeah.
Right?
It's a few millimeters, yeah.
And I'm not going to say it wasn't well received because it was.
It's still the best-selling M camera ever.
Yeah, it was very well received.
Sorry.
But when Leica went back to that original form factor with the M10, it was like, but what?
Yeah.
This is amazing. Yeah. We're finally back to even with the, the ISO dial on the top, this more iconic design that you see in the M11 is essentially what was introduced on the M10. And it's almost that same cycle of M5 to M4
yeah,
II.
I mean, in this case, it wasn't a matter of the M10 saving the company, but definitely the mindset of deviating from a very well-established design and shape. I mean, the shape didn't change, but it just got a little bit thicker, and not that much thicker.
4 millimeters.
Yeah, I mean, here's a 240. I'm holding a 240, right? It's a 246 monochrome. This thing doesn't look like this is huge.
Oh my gosh, how do you hold that?
Right? It's but I very clearly remember. But of course, most of my memories of the 240 launch was just how desirable it was because it was the first M with live view.
Yeah.
I remember R lenses skyrocketing in price. You had the R adapter M, EVF2.
Yep.
It changed the landscape, and I have been told that the M240 is the best-selling digital M.
Is that right?
Even to this day.
More than the M10?
That's what I've been told. I by somebody at Leica. Wow. Which makes sense because of how much more diverse the product line is now. Sure. I think they're kind of like stealing from themselves in that sense because there was a lot less back then. But even so,
that's pretty cool.
If we didn't have the M4 II, we wouldn't have the M240 or any of the cameras. We probably wouldn't. Hard to predict the future, but it's unlikely. And of course, the M4 II was followed by my personal sort of Leica icon,
I was wondering
which
if
is
you're
the
going to mention it.
M4P.
Yep.
The camera that I used to own. And the reason I like the M4P is because it's the first M to introduce all 6 frame lines. Because we didn't have 28 and 75 in the M4 II or anything that came before. You had to use external viewfinders. Well, we didn't have 75s at all, but for 28, you had to use an external finder. And then with the M4P, we saw the introduction of the 75 Summilux.
Which, by the way, is a Mandler design out of Canada.
That's right. And of course, because
iconic design.
visual aids are all about today, I'm sad that they don't do. Look at this absolutely gorgeous M4P brochure from 1981. I mean, look at the gradation here. Okay, you don't get that in 2025. Okay, I'm begging Leica to bring back the brochures.
I like the cutout of the camera on the back.
Oh yeah, this is like the address of the. This is what the label one. But some of the illustrations in here,
Look at
can we get the overhead? Some of the illustrations
lift
here
it up a little
are great. I know it's kind of hard to see, but they have you can see all the different frame lines. And the cool things about reading these kind of materials is you can really understand what Leica's mindset was at launch. Like it says, this system is unsurpassed for photography in unfavorable conditions, unequaled in precision when focusing accurate to the last millimeter is essential. Like, yeah, that seems right. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, all these beautiful illustrations. Like, look at this. That's all. I just love it. I mean, it's very 80s. I think I have that jacket. Oh no, this is the best one. This is the best one. Look at this. Can you get?
What is that?
This is in Antarctic cold and tropical heat or in the rainforest. You can always rely on a Leica. In the future too, it will remain the center of events, and you can see the guy there's no safari.
Okay, so here. Okay, so I need this outfit.
I know this you can wear to Iceland.
I go to a lot of cold places. I'm clearly missing the big
you can see here we have all the lenses, and then there's the very first 75 Summilux, the one that had the removable lens shade before they made that a little bit better. But anyway, I just love the vintage literature. I just think it's so cool.
That is cool,
and it just it gives you a real sense of what the world was like and what Leica's mindset was like when these cameras came out.
It's a snapshot in time.
I love it. That's why I collect this stuff, because it's for me, dealing with this every day, it's not only fun, but also extremely relevant and informative and inspiring. And, it's hard. It's easy to go online and read somebody's retrospective on something, but it's another thing entirely to actually get into
what they thought at the time.
Right, a period correct piece with whatever was current at the time. It's very cool.
That is really cool. And that's in great shape. I mean,
oh yeah,
surprisingly good
mint condition, 10 out of 10. PSA 10. This one is.
Are you gonna put it in plastic, cellophane?
I might have to.
Yeah.
We read this stuff. This is in my office. I go through this all the time. I had a fun time today, going through my collection, trying to find pieces that were relevant.
Speaking of which,
yes,
you should ask me.
What is your ATM pin code? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
False.
What am I asking you, David?
About talking about being inspired by the past and Peter Carver.
Yeah. So about the how do I phrase this myth? Well, I guess the myth would be that Leica only makes lenses for the modern era. Is that what you're thinking about? That's not that's not what I'm saying.
Not specifically, but yeah, I mean it's along those lines, right? So.
I know what you wanted to say, which
I get you. I would say this, and I'll just say I'll say my own.
Yeah, because I knew you. We talked about this, but I think you're thinking a little bit different than I am right now.
No, it's okay. So we talked about Dr. Mandler, and we talked about Max Barrick, and there's a couple other lens designers in there that I'm not remembering their names right now. That I'm sure someone can drop it in the comments. By the way, we do have a comment here that just newsflash, The Decisive Moment. His first book was titled, I'm not even going to say that, something in French, which means images hastily made.
That's funny.
So the poor translation is Decisive Moment. It should have been Hasty Images.
Because you imagine a brochure, hasty images to away. That's hilarious. I love that.
Hastily take.
That's right.
I mean, I would say probably it's more a less decisive moment and maybe more quickly taking images. I wouldn't say hastily, that sounds a little negative to me, but there you go. Translations.
There we go.
Anyway, so really what I was thinking about is, you might have heard the myth about Peter Carver, who is Actually, not the current head of optics. He's sort of the head of optics emeritus. He recently
He's an intern there now, basically.
I mean, he's a volunteer.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny, but yeah. So Peter won't leave. He's always there. And he, if you know, he was the head of optics for a lot of this legendary modern transition. And you may have heard that he's inspired by the designs of the past to create the designs of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true. In one of our conversations, Peter told me that, and actually he paused and then he ran back to his office and he grabbed these notebooks from Max Barrick and plopped them on the table. I'm like, okay, then. He started thumbing through them and was like, yep, when I need inspiration, I look back at the work of my predecessors. And I think, how would they have solved this problem? But with the advantages of modern technology, modern engineering, modern optics, modern coatings, things that they would have wanted to do, but didn't have the tools to do them. And that always struck me. I mean, that conversation was now over 10 years ago. And, you know, Peter talking about this stuff, he'd get the little glint in his eye. If you've ever met Peter Carva, you know he gets all excited and, you know, he gets really passionate when he's talking about this stuff. And it was really fascinating because at the time, the 50 Apo had just come out. And, you know, he was just reminiscing and looking lovingly through these, just like Josh is looking through manuals. Now,
that's right.
They probably printed a whole lot of these.
Yeah. There's not a lot of Max Barrick notebooks floating around.
There's no original Max Barrick engineering notebooks. And it's exactly what you'd imagine, these little notebooks with gridded lines and amazing hand-drawn schematics and figures and all these optical calculations. Really fascinating. You know, I felt just witness to history there, right? It's like I wanted to touch it. I didn't touch it. I mean, clearly Peter was not wearing gloves. I mean, he was just thumbing through it and had it on the table with the little cakes and coffee. I mean,
Peter's hands are gloves.
But Peter's hands are sterile instruments. They're high precision German instruments. So I thought that was really fascinating that, you know, even when Leica is looking forward, they're looking back for inspiration. And to that point, I mean, and I think we can kind of dig into this, and I'll prompt you for this.
Sure.
Something that a lot of people, let's say the myth that's floating around is all the Leica lenses are just too perfect. They lack the Leica glow. They lack character. Used to be that Leica would have the Leica look.
Right.
And that's just lost because everything is just too perfect now.
Right. That is definitely false. I can say that on two fronts. One of the fascinating developments over the years has been with the SL line, which not only has shown us what Leica is truly capable of when their performance is their actual benchmark above all else, but also made us really appreciate the Leica look that M lenses give you, even the best M lenses, because of how they compare to the Apple SLs. And I talked about this on the show before, but if somebody comes to me and says, well, Josh, you know, I'm looking to get a Leica, maybe my first Leica, maybe not, and my number one priority is image quality. I've heard that Leica lenses are sharp, they're just razor sharp, they're the best. That's what I want. So what should I get? I say, get an SL3 and a 50 Apo SL. And they go, well, what do you mean? Shouldn't I get an M? I'm like, well, you could. An M is an amazing camera, but if you're telling me that performance is your number one metric, the Apo SL lenses, each focal length in the Apo SL lineup, 28 to 90, represents the sharpest lens in that focal length Leica has ever made, bar none. And I've tested them all, so this is not just marketing nonsense. This is me actually like doing critical tests. Now, there are some phenomenal M lenses out there, some phenomenal lenses in the S line and the R line even, but the Apo SL lenses, when it comes just to outright performance, mostly focusing on sharpness, wide open, corner to corner, lack of aberration, contrast, they're incredible.
Yeah.
They are second to none. Now, that doesn't mean they're the best for everyone who wants to use lenses. It's just if you come to me and you say, I need the highest performance, I may ask you first, well, you mean wide open performance or slap down performance? But then that aside, I would direct you towards the Apo SL primes. Now, of course, if you want to shoot M, there are some incredible Apo M lenses like the 50 Apo, 35 Apo. There's also the 75 Noctilux, which is a standard bearer, the 90 Macro, which is a standard bearer. But the more sophisticated that Leica products have become, like the SL with image stabilization and EVF, SL Appos, the more I've actually begun to both appreciate and be reminded of the Leica look we get even from the modern lenses.
Sure.
I mean, I've seen the work you've done, like with the 35 FLE. If you look at those images, no one would say, "Oh, that's not the Leica look." They would say, "Oh, that's beautiful."
Right.
And that's a modern, the 2012 or 2010 design for the original FLE. A modern lens, digital error lens, floating element, all the fancy stuff. But there's a delicate nature to that lens, and really, in my opinion, to any modern Summilux, there's a quality that I think continues to really well represent the Leica look, even though, like David's saying, Peter and his successor now have all these incredible tools to make anything they want to solve any problem they can imagine.
Yep.
I still think that, not even getting into the classic series yet, just talking about the regular lenses in the portfolio, 50 Summilux, a great example of that being the 28 Summilux.
Sure.
That lens is magical. And I cannot imagine it is easy to make a 28mm Summilux rangefinder lens.
That performs that highly.
Seriously. I mean,
that's small.
I mean, that lens is one of the more underappreciated lenses, probably one of the most underappreciated M lenses right now, like in the current portfolio, because there's a little bit, it's big for a 28, but it's no bigger. It's smaller than an Octalux, which a lot of people love.
Sure.
And you feel like you're using a wide angle Octalux. I don't know how else to explain it.
I mean, I don't want to get too in the equipment weeds, but I also think the 28 Summicron has a ton of character.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I remember the 28 Summicron version 1, 11604, was one of the first lenses that I got to use when I started working with it. Many years ago. I took it to South Beach. I think maybe there was a 240 era, maybe M9, doesn't matter. And I remember shooting some portraits, like street portraits wide open, and thinking like, whoa. at the time, I didn't understand what necessarily I was looking at because I was so new, but I definitely knew there was something there that I'd never seen before. And I had, gone to college photography. I'd used everything, Phase 1, Hasselblad, Linhof, you name it. I shot all of it. But man, that blew me away.
Yeah.
And I shot that lens so much for the first few years. Yeah. I was like a 28 guy, and then when the S came out, I used the 35 because I was 28. Ironically, now that the Q is out, I've come full circle.
There you go.
The 50 guy. It's like, I don't know what's happening. Anyway, that was a long answer to that.
No, this is all good context.
Yeah.
So,
okay. What should I ask you next? There's a good one in there.
So, do they only make new lenses?
Oh, that's a good,
Yeah.
So maybe let's phrase it this way.
Sure.
The myth would be Leica is a risk-averse company.
Okay.
Who plays it safe.
Yes.
And just does what everybody thinks they should do. Myth or fact?
Totally incorrect.
I think this is a big one, but this is good for 8:50 p.m. This is a good one.
This is a big one.
Yeah.
So what I have till 10, right?
Good.
and go. Okay. And I'm on the clock. Okay. This is something that I've heard where, Leica plays it safe. They're very, conservative. They're engineers and, bean counters. Either they don't take risks or they don't innovate. And neither could be further from the truth. So if we look back in history, right, Leica created 35mm still format. Not 35mm film, as we talked about, but the 35mm full frame camera, as we know and love today. But also the modern coincidence rangefinder that we still use in the M. They created the M mount back in 1954, which, by the way, this is, I don't know if this is about being risk averse or change averse, but I'll take it, which is the fact that I can use this modern 50mm Apo Summicron M on a Leica M3 that came out 70 years ago. That's pretty amazing. And I can use the 50mm f2 lens that came with that camera on a modern M11, and they still work the same, which is absolutely incredible. So the M itself was a revolution. But then along the way, we had... Let's go into more recent times. Leica created, for instance, something like this. This is actually, which one is this?
006.
This is a 006.
Yes, but it's representative.
It's representative.
Yes.
So this, which, by the way, I used for the better part of 10 years, the Leica S system as my main landscape tool. This is the world's first fully integrated from the ground up digital medium format system. Up until then, legacy manufacturers medium format were taking very large, boxy film bodies and bolting even boxier digital backs on them. And that was kind of what the thing was. Leica came at it completely from a fresh perspective and said, what if we make a medium format camera that's barely bigger than a 35 millimeter camera, and we give it performance more akin to a 35 millimeter camera, just with a ginormous lens mount on it. It's always impressive when you do that.
Yeah, look at that thing.
With a big viewfinder, make it shoot several frames a second. I mean, I've written pretty extensively about the system in general, about what really set it apart. Likewise, it was the first camera, at least announced. I don't know about it coming out with. There was a little bit of a race there. But they announced that the camera would have a dual shutter mechanism, meaning leaf shutter in the lens and focal plane shutter in the body to take advantage of both ambient light and flash lighting. And that was pretty revolutionary. The autofocus system in here was more precise than anything up until that point on any SLR. You have, for instance, here's a risk, right? This is a Leica XU, which is an underwater camera with an APS sensor in it. And it's one of the only cameras in the world with a larger sensor that doesn't require a separate underwater housing. It is the housing. And they did this knowing this wasn't going to sell in any great quantity. They never expected it to. It was just something they thought they could do, and then they should do. It even has a functional manual focus ring that works underwater, and shutter speed dial that works underwater.
I know, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, right?
It's easy, just to interrupt for a second, it's easy to forget because we get distracted by like M11, SL3, but it's easy to forget products like the XU.
Yeah.
Or even the S system now that hasn't been around in a bit. Leica did these things clearly knowing they were not going to sell in huge quantities.
Correct.
Clearly knowing how niche they were, but they did them anyway.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is...
And I haven't even gotten to the big ones yet.
Oh, I know. I'm just thinking, but that, to me, really is proving that point. But anyway, I don't want to... You're on a roll, so carry on.
I'm on a roll. Okay. And I'll take an overhead for this one. So this one, actually, this is a friend's camera that they just came by today. I was like, can I use that on the show? So this is the original T Type 701, which is a mirrorless APS camera. And this was, I think, kind of a big risk for Leica. It's beautiful, for one thing. Has no buttons on the back. It has this full touchscreen interface. And what struck me as I'm looking at it now, this camera came out in 2013, and it has an actual very responsive, very modern-looking interface on it. And you can even drag and drop items around. You can reorder these things. You can customize it. And it's just a really cool camera. It was made out of a solid block of machined aluminum. Famously, they had an ad that aired on, or not an ad, they just had a video on YouTube that was 45 minutes long showing someone hand polishing one of these things.
That was awesome.
So it's machined from a solid block of aluminum. It's unibody construction. It's basically, as beautiful as a MacBook, but with a camera in it. And it was so far ahead of its time. I think that the world wasn't necessarily ready for it. But what it gave us is this. It gave us the L mount.
That's it.
Originally called the T mount, don't tell anyone, but the L mount, what became the L mount because of copyright or trademark infringement, was always designed, even when they made this APS camera, was always designed to be APS and full frame. So Leica knew when they made this in the early 2010s that they would ultimately be making this. And this has the same lens mount as the T.
That's wild when I think about that, because when the T came out, we're like, why do we need another mount? We have M, we have S,
Yep.
we have R.
Little did we know.
I know. We just were like, oh, this is cool, but what's it seems like a lot of an investment to make a whole new lens mount just for that. But man, and it's only been 10 years, really 10 years-ish since that camera really hit
since the SL, yeah. And then just as a follow-on, where Leica's willing to just do things and be responsive, there was some concern that the T was maybe a little too advanced for people, so they came out with it in the CL body, which had a built-in electronic viewfinder, the same mount, basically these have the same internals in them, the CL and the not this one,
TL2, but
but
same
roughly, right? The TL2 and the CL are essentially the same camera inside. This one just has buttons, and so Leica really took that forward. But even before these were out, back in 2009, and we don't have one on the table. Back in 2009, they took a really big risk as well with the X1, which was something no one else had done before, which is take a larger APS size sensor and put it into a compact camera with a very high quality fast lens. That hadn't happened before. Now we take it for granted. They're, Fuji, Sony, they all do it because they took a page out of Leica's book. And ultimately that X camera, which also ended up being X2 and X Vario and
X113 and XU.
So there was and the XU. There was actually a bunch of those, and they ultimately led to what we know as the Q, which again was kind of a big risk, where they have a very, very high quality, full frame, integrated camera with an amazing 28 1.7 Summilux lens with macro capability. We take it for granted now, but again, when that came out in 2015, not 20.
Yeah,
yes,
the original Q. Yeah.
June 2015.
Yep.
The original Q. I mean, it was revolutionary. So there was quite a few products along the way where Leica was pushing boundaries in digital realm that other companies just weren't. I actually remember going to Photokina back when that was a thing. And I don't remember the exact meeting. It could have been the exact show. It could have been 2014, 16, 18, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And I just remember seeing groups of engineers and executives from other camera companies go visit Leica. And I was saying, what's going on? And they're like, well, the general camera market, because smartphones were on the rise and cameras were on the decline. And people were freaking out because those companies, they watched their compact camera sales just kind of fall off a cliff, and they didn't really have the same kind of following that Leica had. So they were kind of looking for inspiration and guidance, because Leica was growing by leaps and bounds and really innovating in the digital space more than any other company for a good number of years to get us to where we are today. Like Josh said, I mean, Leica came a very, very long way in about 10 years. They started off slow in digital, but man, they made up for it.
Yeah, and that's probably why, David and I obviously are at the end of almost every complaint from every Leica user on the planet. I get it. It's fun, and I complain every single minute of every day. But the perspective that I am fortunate enough to have of being here for 15 years is, I'm like, yeah, you may be complaining about that little bug now, but you don't know what it was like.
Right.
I mean, a lot of you do, but when, if you're getting into Leica today with an M11P and a 50 Apo, man, using an M9 with a 50 Sumer at 2.5
well, hold on.
4 gig memory cards.
M8 with UV.
Yeah, even that, and that was not that long ago.
No,
we're not talking about the 1970s here, okay? We're talking about 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time.
It's pretty crazy.
I'm going to say 2 more innovations.
We're going to take a break.
2 more innovations, and these are quick ones.
Okay, and then we got to do the 9 o'clock break.
Absolutely.
Okay.
These are absolutely worth mentioning.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, and I was there for these announcements, and that's even I was like, what?
Yeah.
The first, in 2012, was the first Monochrom.
Yes.
Okay, now, talk about taking a risk and innovating. I was in this giant meeting room in Berlin that, by the way, the air conditioning didn't work. That's a theme. That's a theme. If you know about Leica events, the air conditioning never works.
They're getting better.
It was freezing cold outside, but it was hot as blazes inside. That was actually the first Das Westen event that was ever held. It was the one in Berlin in May of 2012, and they announced the 50 Apo, they announced the the X2, and they announced the M Monochrom based on the M9. And Dr. Kaufmann held it up, and he's like, it's a black and white digital camera. And I was like, what? But you could just click the button that says black and white, and why? And since then, obviously, the world has come to understand why Leica did that. But man, could you imagine the risk that they took in creating a product that nobody knew they even wanted.
Well, the worst part was they came out with that camera on May 10th.
Yes.
And they said there was something coming on May 10th. And everyone thought, May 10, M10. Because that was what we thought would come after the M9.
Right.
And for months, we were like, no, it's not. I don't know what's happening. And then Monochrom, which now, of course, has
how many we have? A lot.
Well, I'm saying the original Monochrom now has come full circle, and now it's like a cult camera.
Sure.
You know, they're very rare to see, and they sell for more than the one that came after, which is very funny to me.
Yes. And then the second thing I'll mention, also M-related, and we have one here. Again, everyone thought when Leica did this, and it was announced first for a special edition. It was announced for the M Edition 60, I believe, was the first one.
But the thing on the bottom of that camera?
No.
Oh,
no screen on a digital camera. Are they out of their mind? Right? And when that camera was announced, it was at a Photokina, I don't remember.
It was 60 years, right? It's 2014. 60 years of that. Yeah.
So 2014, they came out with this M Edition 60, beautiful stainless steel camera with no rear display. And people are like, you made 600 of these without a screen? Did you forget? And nope, they're like, we're owning it. It's the pure Leica experience. And now there's been how many? This is the M11D, and there's been.
Well, that's not an M11D, but that's a film camera.
Oh god, sorry.
I have an M11D.
Anyway, wait, imagine
that's the same.
Yeah,
we've had M Edition 60, MD262, M10D, M11D. So technically 4 screenless cameras. But yeah, that's. I also remember when the MD came out, like. What? You know, but now I would kill to get a nice clean pre-owned MD for the used department. Like they're so hard to come by because nobody gets rid of them.
Yeah.
Especially the original one, the MD 262, because it's black paint brass.
Yep.
The M10D and the M11D, they went the other direction with the anodization. So, well, no, M11D is painted, but whatever. So yes, I would say. I can almost think there must be like a sense of humor in Wetzlar, where they're like, oh. They're gonna love this. just you wait. I mean, I love it, and I think that goes back to the theme of Leica is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a fun experience to hold, own, and use Leicas. It's not supposed to be too serious. Don't take it too seriously. And I think the D series of cameras really exemplify that really well because they are just about having fun. But now it's 9 o'clock, so we're going to feature a couple cool products. We're going to take some questions, and I got another bombshell question for you after that. Another big myth.
Ooh.
So I have 2 cool, fun things. So as you guys know, usually around the 9 o'clock hour, we take a break from our extremely informative and totally not at all boring lectures about random topics. And I usually show something cool from the used department and something else, whatever. The first thing I want to show, I don't actually have it physically here with me.
Take that. Oh god,
David will pull it up on our website for us. If you
okay.
Book, yeah. So one of our favorite Miami-based photographers is a gentleman by the name of Louis J. Louis was a practicing commercial photographer in Miami for many, many years. He had some huge accounts. Also an incredible photographer outside of the studio as well. We've sold some of his other books in the past. He just came out with a gorgeous new book from his work in Marrakesh, and we just got them in. I don't have it here, unfortunately, but we do have them in stock. All shot on monochrome cameras. So Q2 monochrome and M10 monochrome. There it is. And it's called Marrakesh Face to Face. It's like this. Oh, you can't see me now. There we go. It's like that big. It's a nice size, like coffee table size, not too big. The printing is gorgeous. Every one of the prints in the book looks like a beautiful fine art print. David, you can kind of scroll through, like, there's the cover. All the copies we have are signed. This is really, to me, representative of what a Leica monochrome camera can do in the hands of a skilled photographer who just gets out on the street and works. This is not glamorous studio work. This is not, taking a helicopter to the top of a mountain. This is just going to a city with a camera and getting out there and pounding the pavement and making photographs. And he brought this book to the store, he showed it to us, and I just loved it. Like I said, the quality of the printing is absolutely gorgeous. He's a connoisseur of the finer things, and he knows how to make a nice print. So I love that he is a local artist here in Miami. Of course, we can ship the book anywhere in the world. And I think this is the first place you can get it other than his own website. So,
and they are signed as well.
Yeah, and they're all signed by him. He came to the store and signed them for us. So if you want something that's both inspiring, something that's, you could inspire you to get out and shoot on the street, something that's really demonstrative of what these monochrome cameras are capable of in the real world in the hands of a real photographer. And also you want to support an incredible local artist here in Miami, someone who self-published this book. This is a great way to do it. So Jose or David can drop a link in the chat. Jose,
Cool.
can you use that, Jose?
Yeah.
Okay, Jose can do it. Now, so thank you to Lewis for that. And I'll bring a copy of the next episode so you guys can actually see it. And I have one in the store. So that's a book. David, we mentioned Walter Mandler.
Yes.
Legendary lens design.
Yes.
Well, that's what this is.
What is that?
This is one of my favorite and probably most underappreciated Walter Mandler designs. And everyone gets hung up on all the Noctilux, Sumalux, Fancy Lux stuff.
Fancy Lux.
But yeah, this is...
Is it a basic Lux?
This is a 28mm Elmerite version 3. A iconic Mandler design and one of the most underappreciated 28s of all the ones in the lineup. You can get a close up here. There we go. The version 1 and the version 2, well, the version 1 especially, very exotic, super, super deeper element. Version 2, fix a lot of those things, still quite ungainly to use. The version 3 is, in my opinion, really the first super usable, even today, 28mm M lens. It's small, but it's not too small. It takes a 49mm filter, so it's just like a Q, and it's 28. It's also the first 28mm that can be 6-bit coded, which this one is. This one was overhauled in Wetzlar, so it is working beautifully. And if you're looking for a relatively inexpensive, fun way to get a Mandler design lens, to get something that's different, that's still very easy to use, it's got a focusing tab, you know, it's got a 0.7 meter minimum focus distance, all the things you would expect. This is a really, really fun way to do it. This is great on a monochrome. It's got a lovely bokeh. I would just keep it locked wide open and never stop it down. It has a very funky lens to it that's a little bit tricky, but that's all part of the fun, which I will show you. Here we go. You just kind of go like this, and then go like that, and now it's on. There we go. It's beautiful. So if you're looking for a nice, clean 28 Elmerite version 3 with the Germany CLA that has the original box, has the original hood, I thought this was a great find we had in the shop, and I just had to show it today. Because, you know, a lot of times I'm showing these super exotic, really high-priced, amazing things that are so, like, fantastical. This is really just a great entry point into vintage without going vintage, delicate, expensive Sumalux, while still being very usable, while still being 6-bit coded, and of course in really, really good shape as well. So if you want to pay your homage to Walter Mandler, this is a great way to do it. Anyway, do we have any workshops you have to talk about? I didn't even think about that.
We've got new ones listed.
It's you, David and Jose. Jose just got back from Moab, doing astrophotography with Colin, which was crazy. Hopefully we'll see some of those pictures sometime soon. We have...
Yeah, I can show.
Yeah, let's talk about workshops for a bit, David. Show us what we got.
Here's what we got. There, look at that.
There we go.
So, again, at Leica Store Miami, we have got, let's see, spots available for New Orleans Monochrom Workshop with Richard Sexton in New Orleans, March 2026. I will be leading this a new trip to the Azores in June of 2026. Very exciting. It's sort of like the Hawaii of your North Atlantic is the way. I mean, it's very, very lush, very volcanic. Really looking forward to that. Some really unique landscape opportunities there. So we got a few spots left, or several spots there. We also will be doing a photo adventure in Iceland during the next full solar eclipse. We booked that one up right after the last solar eclipse because we found out that the path is going to go right over Iceland, and we figured that's going to be amazing. So we've got the eclipse. Then it's in August 2026. And what?
These are all sold out.
These are all sold out.
Yeah.
So, yes. All right.
So we got some cool programs coming up, and Peter is always adding more to the site. But those are some of the newest ones.
Yes.
Okay, but I think we should do a few questions, and then I've got a big one for you. Jose, if you could, if there's anything that we need to address, I'm happy to take a few. We can take a few myths, a few legends, some questions, whatever you got.
Let me ask a couple of questions.
There's one I definitely want to get to that's in there, but we'll see if you ask it or not.
Richard says, a Leica camera will make you a better photographer.
That was the one I wanted her to ask.
Okay.
So the myth is, a Leica camera will make you a better photographer. The
my
answer
God.
is 100% yes.
Totally yes.
And the funny thing is, like, I know I'm being a little silly, and of course everyone's different, but there is something to be said about having the best tool or a tool that makes you think, whether that's a camera or something else. No, just handing out Leica camera to a random person is probably not going to do much good, especially if it's an M. The pictures are going to be probably not very good, but there is a joy to using a Leica, and I think because photography is supposed to be fun, injecting that extra bit of joy, I think, can result in better photographs. Of course, no, you can take great photos with a phone. You can take photos with anything you want. I mean, that's what's fun. But what brings us together is the Leica experience and the Leica products and the Leica history. That's why we're all sitting here. And I do genuinely believe that a combination of what the equipment can do, the joy you have while using it, and also the fun part of being in the Leica community can improve your photography. You know, having been on these Leica workshops, like David's talking about, meetings with the Leica Society International, the LSI, where everybody gets together to celebrate this amazing brand and they go out and photograph. I've seen some amazing photographs come out, and I've actually been able to watch a lot of these individuals, people watching, your journey over the last 15 years from where you started to where you are now, and seeing the improvement and the incredible work that a lot of people are doing now with their Leicas. And I think, so yeah, I think all other things being equal, someone who's getting into photography and who can gain an appreciation for what a Leica can do, it can make them a better photographer.
I think so. I mean,
I don't mean just an expensive Leica. I mean,
I would
cheap
even
Leica.
I mean, even my own photography, I think that as these tools have improved, and they have improved. I mean, listen, I am not going to subscribe to it was best however many decades ago and it never got better. No, it's gotten a lot better. You know, with each generation digital camera, with new lens introductions, it's opened up new creative possibilities that ultimately have made me a better photographer. I mean, I have seen my work improve over the years. I didn't start where I am now. So we all have a journey that we take with photography. If you are passionate about photography, Leica, I think, can certainly elevate that passion to the next level. And it, as a tool, or as a set of tools, it's something where, no, you don't need the best to do good work. And this is true of any tool, whether it's, a chef with a knife or, whatever, or a painter with a brush. But better tools can, basically, they don't impede your work or your progress. They get out of the way and they become, oh gosh, I'm venturing into the world of cliche, but they become a partner on your journey rather than something to hold you back. And that's not just flowery words. It's something that I've personally experienced. So speaking from my own perspective, speaking from people that I have had conversations with over these decades, being in this world, you often find it true. And I know that there are Leica haters out there, and there are,
I mean, there's people who don't like chocolate. So honestly, nothing surprises me at this point anymore.
Who doesn't like chocolate?
Someone who's watching this.
Who doesn't like chocolate?
You better
Everybody
leave.
likes chocolate.
There's someone out there who hates chocolate.
But the reality is, if you kind of separate that, at the end of the day, Leicas are tools. They are the finest photographic tools available. And there is a wide catalog to choose from. And no, you don't have to get the latest and greatest and Apo this and that. Yeah. There's people doing great work with 50-year-old setups.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do believe, especially, let's say with the M, when I go out with an M camera, I look at the world a little bit differently, and I'm more deliberate in my picture taking. And that alone can be worth it to pick up an M camera. Yeah.
I agree. Let's keep moving.
Oh, well, that wasn't that bad.
That was great.
Bomb diffused.
What else you got for us, Jose?
All right, let's see. For which mount were the most Leica branded lenses sold? M, R, S, L?
M, for sure. It's been around for a long time, yeah.
It's a shame that Leica still doesn't make an M for left-eye dominant people.
I'm left-eye dominant, aren't I? Right? Oh, yeah, I feel like this. Oh, you mean like where it's like over here? kind of thing? Oh, that'd be
weird.
I had to think about that. Like, I'm so used to just shooting like this. I don't know what else it would do.
I mean, I would say an SL.
Well, they might mean that, you're supposed to use your right eye.
Oh, there's no supposed to. There's no rules here.
Myth or legend.
Please. The myth is that you're supposed to do anything. The fact is you can do whatever the heck you want because it's supposed to be fun.
So I think we should save that for our April Fool's episode, but they're coming out with the left-handed.
Oh gosh, the left-handed Leica?
left-eyed Leica.
Okay, next question.
Myth or fact? Are we going to see you guys in Montreal next month?
TBD. We're still.
Some of us.
We have a lot of workshops going on, and
oh right, I 100% will not. Ooh, watch your mouse, Jose. 100% will not be there because I will be leading a workshop in Scotland.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be there. With David gone and running the store, remains to be seen. But hopefully I will be there. If not, I'm in Leica Store Miami 5 to 6 days a week, so come see me. I'll make you an espresso, look at some brochures. It'll be awesome. I'm just saying. All right, what else we got?
Okay.
Is the 35mm Summicron version 4 the actual king of bokeh amongst 35mm lenses?
So I am working on a 35 Summicron episode sometime. That's where we'll talk about that. So I'm not going to answer that one now because I do plan on a whole episode dedicated to 35 Summicron. Speaking of which, if you happen to own any really rare versions of a 35 Summicron M lens, hit me up because I'm looking to gather up all the cool special editions and black paint and everything else. So that's probably like a December show just because it does take a few months to put that stuff together. But yes,
It'll be worth the wait.
It'll be worth the wait because I'm going to make it awesome. So stay tuned for the answer to that one.
Cool. All right, let's keep it going.
Is that?
All right, let's go.
All right, David.
Can I ask you a question?
You can.
I gave a long, lengthy answer.
Okay.
I do want you to.
No, I'm going to ask you that next.
Yeah, ask me that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say.
Do that one. Yeah.
This one. Okay. Along the same lines, just like we talked about having, the Canadian lenses and Canadian cameras are no less than German-made ones. Mm-hmm. What about in the modern era? What about things made in Portugal versus Germany?
Mm-hmm. So as many of you might know, many of you might not, Leica has had a presence in Porto, Portugal since 1973. They celebrated their 50-year anniversary of the factory in 2023. David and I were there. If you go to their website dedicated to that celebration, there's a big group photo. We're in it. I just made sure.
Yeah, we're in it.
And Portugal is an integral part of the Leica product assembly and the whole portfolio. In fact, a lot of products, most of them are made in Portugal. The Sport Optics line
are only made there.
They're all made in Portugal.
Yeah.
They moved all the production from Wetzlar. That means the optics, the mechanics, everything. I've told the story before, and you know what I'm going to say, but it stuck with me. When we were there, we got a factory tour. And this facility is both huge and state-of-the-art. David and I have both been to Wetzlar many times, and we've been to the factory in Porto. And there's no difference. In fact, if anything, the Porto factory seemed a little bit more advanced.
Higher ceilings.
Yes.
Very high ceilings.
And I'll never forget, we're at the end of the tour, we're in this room, and there's a huge wall with a zillion headshots on it, right? And
it was like Employee of the Month, but everybody was Employee of the Month.
I don't know, 100 pictures. And I asked our tour guide, I'm like, what is that? And she says, oh, that's everybody who's been here for 25 years or more at the factory in Porto. And I was like,
wow.
The cumulative experience at that facility is incredible. And the work they do is second to none. Having seen it firsthand, especially the finishing capability, painting, they do the mill work for like titanium special editions, stainless steel special editions. They do a lot of that there. And of course, it's a Leica factory. Mm-hmm. And when you have a Leica factory, it is making Leica products. Whether it's in Wetzlar or Porto is kind of irrelevant at this point because Leica products are made to Leica standards. So for me, I have a lot of pride, especially after having been there, in seeing made in Portugal on something. Because I understand that it's as good as, or even maybe say better than what they can make in Wetzlar, because there are so many extremely experienced technicians, engineers, designers working at that facility.
So you know what you're not mentioning?
What's that?
When she showed us that huge section of 25 years or more, she said, oh, and by the way, over here, these are 30-year and more. These are 40-year and more. Yeah. And these are 50-year and more employees.
It's pretty nuts. I mean,
are you kidding me?
It's it's a huge investment that they made, and I was reading.
They just built it in 2018, I think.
Yeah, the new factory. Yeah, I was reading articles recently about a journalist who had visited the old Porto factory, saying he said it felt like I was in Wetzlar.
Yeah,
it was the same. And the proof's in the pudding, right? So you can engrave anything on anything made in wherever, but the proof is usability, reliability, and user experience, which have proven to be exemplary. I mean, Leica for years offered a lifetime warranty on their sport optics. They only recently changed that. It's still 30 years.
Only 30 years?
On sport optics, which are made in Portugal. So why would Leica put their longest warranty on a product that they don't even make in Wetzlar? They make it in Portugal. I think that's a testament.
And there's a key component, actually, in every M camera from Porto that's crucial. It's what makes an M&M.
Which is?
The rangefinder.
So you got to tell us. Yeah.
So the rangefinder mechanism that sits, whether it's a film camera or a digital camera, it takes about that much space, pretty big. We used to have a
I have one on my desk. Yeah, I didn't bring it,
one.
but I have one, yeah.
So the rangefinder mechanism has over 1,000 components. And the prisms that project the frame lines, the prisms actually are ground and polished in Porto. And that entire assembly is, both the optics and the mechanics are actually put together for every single M camera in Portugal.
So if you come at me and you say, I'm not going to buy X, Y, and Z simply because it's made in Portugal, not in Wetzlar.
Can't shoot a rangefinder.
You're not buying anything. And you're doing a disservice to the amazing team, many of whom are Germans who are transplanted there, many of whom are local and from all over the world, who are doing work that no other camera company can do in 2025.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So if you ever go to Portugal, try to get a tour of the factory. I think they do it if you connect with the store in Porto.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a program in place for that. Please do it because it's unbelievable. You'll get to meet some of the people that work there and you'll realize just how important that facility is to Leica's ability to make what they make in 2025. Simple as that.
100%.
Your turn. David.
Okay. Yes.
We're going to talk about, we talked about mythic figures. Oskar Barnack,
Sure.
Karba, Walter Mandler. Let's talk about a mythic figure who's still being mythic today.
Mythic. Okay.
Myth is Dr. Andreas Kaufmann saved Leica.
True. That's true. He is the man, the myth, and the legend. We would not be sitting here with all of this. Well, actually, no.
Yeah, this is all post.
All of this is, all of it. All of this is post Dr. Kaufmann saving the company. So the story is that that Leica was a publicly traded company, but with a 51% ownership stake by the French luxury brand Hermès. They were not making the transition to digital in the early 2000s the way that other camera companies were. And they were just cranking out endless, special edition M6s.
Which in hindsight, are now the coolest things ever.
Right,
but yeah.
But at the time, Hermès viewed Leica as a luxury brand, not as a tool brand that it was, and a premium product. And Dr. Kaufmann had the fortune of him and his two brothers inherited a family fortune from the pulp, paper, and packaging empire that their family had in Austria. So Dr. Kaufmann took a look, as they were looking to make investments and get out of that business and into more modern businesses. He was a longtime Leica aficionado himself and knew about the brand, heard about the problems they were having, took a little closer look at it and said, this is completely undervalued. It's just Leica could be so much more with the right support and the right ownership. And he took that imperative and he came in as a white knight and he purchased Hermès' share. He purchased up a bunch of other shares to take majority control in 2006. And the myth goes, and it's true, Leica at that point when he took over was 3 weeks from insolvency. So they were really on the brink of collapse. And he literally saved the company. What's really fascinating is, he put in place efforts to go into the digital age. So we had products like the DMR over here.
The old DMR.
Which, by the way, fantastic. I was a huge DMR shooter.
Look at that thing. It's a beast.
Amazing.
It's a beast. I love it.
Amazing. And the M8, which arguably was the product that did save Leica, although not without a few headaches, which we don't have to get into that. You can watch our digital episode. But he did what was necessary. He invested the dollars to do it, or the euros to do it. And, you know, and just when he was getting going, I actually saw Dr. Kaufmann he's been very open about this, and he loves the Leica community. He's been a frequent attendee at the LSI and formerly LHSA meetings. So I attended the LHSA meeting in 2007. And it was I believe that was in Rochester, New York, I think, maybe. I remember the speech. I don't remember the location. I've been to a lot of those meetings.
It blurs together.
And he gave the keynote address to a huge room. There must have been, you know, over 1,000 people there at the time. And he gave his little PowerPoint and showed, he's like, oh, you know, we're going to come out with 3 new camera systems and 24 new lenses over the next 2 years. And it's going to be great. And Leica's going to be a whole new thing. And everyone's just like, is he serious?
Yeah,
I mean, Leica a year ago was like barely a company. And you're talking about like, seriously? You're, like, this is a big deal. And it was true. I mean, 2 years on, there was something like 20 new lenses. There was all these new systems. And unfortunately, they hit a bump in the road, which was the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009. And interestingly, Dr. Kaufmann, again, had this very forward-looking vision, this long-term vision for Leica. And he didn't lay people off, and he didn't scale back R&D or production. In fact, he redoubled his efforts. So Leica grew their workforce by 10%, taking advantage of skilled labor that other people laid off. And he was able to bring those people into the fold, get them trained at Leica to produce what was coming. Because what was coming is he invested close to 50 million euros between the M9, the X1, and the S2 medium format camera. All at the same time. He had all these projects going at the same time. And I'll just confirm another myth that yes, there was a 4th product in the portfolio, which was a full frame R10 digital that never came to pass because when they looked at the S2, they're like, why do we need that also? Yeah. So the art people can be mad, but
they're always mad.
They're always mad.
Yeah.
But still, he put his money where his mouth is. And I heard him give another address to LSI or LHSA at the time in 2008. And he said, we're well aware of the financial crisis. We're continuing to bring out, you know, great products. We have great things in store for Leica. He said, because we don't have to answer to shareholders the way that these big companies do. We have one shareholder. And I just look at him in the mirror every morning and I say, hi, Andreas, you're doing the right thing. And that's the kind of leadership and vision and commitment, because he put his own money up to do this and took a pretty big risk of buying Leica in the first place and instituting a turnaround by creating all these products, bringing all this know-how in-house. Leica does all of their own firmware. They do all their own app development. They do all their own lens development, all their own digital signal processing. I mean, Leica has turned into this high-tech company in a very short amount of time. Yeah. And yes, I give credit, you know, primarily to Dr. Kaufmann for having that vision and having the follow-through to do it in spite of the entire world economy melting down for a couple of years. And thankfully, when the economy did start to turn around at the end of 2009, everyone else is sitting on their hands, and guess what Leica has? They've got an M9 full-frame digital mirrorless rangefinder. They've got an S2 cutting-edge digital medium format camera, and they've got the X1 camera ready to go.
Yeah, and this month is 16 years since the M9. That was September 9th, 2009.
It's amazing.
I know, right? That was...
So yeah, I think it's... I'm sure I've told the story to countless people, but it is pretty incredible that he had that ability to do it, especially when, you know, you see news of like, oh, corporate earnings are down 3 pennies, so let's lay off 20,000 people.
And he's still around.
He's still around.
He's still involved. He's still
his office is on the top floor.
Working.
Well, and not just that. So he didn't just turn the company around. He also bought up this huge plot of land for Leitz Park. He bought the brand back, Leitz, and Leica at the time was being made in Solms, which is a town next to or 2 towns over from Wetzlar. And they moved there in 1988 away from Wetzlar when the company split with Microsystems, Geosystems, and Leica Camera. And he wanted to not just get back to keeping things made in Germany, which they were, but made in Wetzlar. And now, if you actually look at the back of the camera, it says Leica Camera Wetzlar, because he really wanted to bring that legacy back to where it started. And that is why he built a new factory in Porto. He built a new factory in Wetzlar.
Well, plus they have international partners all over the world now with the Unmelt Alliance, things like that.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Which we'll get to. But there's the Leica of today
is not the Leica
of 20 years ago, and represents, like you said, a massive risk
and a massive turnaround.
Yeah, and also a lot of money.
Yes.
Do we have any questions? I saw there's some stuff coming in the chat. I can't.
Sorry, I got it covered up here.
Yeah, referring to the ownership, it says, and now Blackstone for 45%.
Yeah, so Kaufmann put up a lot of money in order to get some of that back in, what year was it? Was it 2014?
It was right around then, yeah. I mean, I'm sure he spent a fortune building Lights Park.
Yeah, so in order to get some of that money back, he sold a 44% stake to Blackstone, an American investment banking company, private equity. So yes, they have a 44% stake. He sold it to them, that stake, for 165 million euros at that time, which I think recouped most of his investment, but he still maintained majority, because math's math, 56% of the company.
Yeah.
And Leica now is not a public company, it is a private company.
Exactly. What else we got, Jose?
And we have, what's the biggest myth or legend about the German manufacturing process of a Leica product?
I mean,
the ladies painting the lenses?
No, it's more so kind of what I alluded to before, which is like, not maybe the product so much, but the people behind it. I definitely didn't realize just how good a sense of humor the Germans working at Leica had until I went there and I got to meet everybody. When you're an American, the cliche is Germans are like very serious and they're very precise, and they are these things, but they're also hilarious. And that sense of humor and that the fun that they have working there and making those products, when you see it when you go, I think contributes to why Leica is still around and why we get a wall of people who've been there 25 years plus, because you wouldn't have that if
Listen, I'll give an anecdote just from our recent trip over the summer.
Yeah.
So we went to the 100-year celebration, and we got a tour of the M-Len. We didn't get a full factory tour.
I missed that tour. I was on a plane.
Never mind.
You can tell
I got a tour with a bunch of cool people from LSI. You know who you are. And it was pretty fun. We did the M-Lens manufacturing section. And I think I even talked about some highlights where they had the 3D printer that actually could print like wheels and things like that. So the guy giving the tour, he says, "Oh, I apologize. I'm not a professional tour guide, but I think I'm qualified. I've worked in the factory for 44 years." We're like, yeah, you get a pass. And
longer than I've been alive.
And you'd ask a question, he'd be like, "Oh, well, it works." Like he knew. I mean, he was head of M-Lens manufacture, so he knew every piece of equipment in there. He knew exact tolerances, how everything worked. I was like, you know what? I'm glad we had you as a tour guide, because I don't need all the fluffy stuff. Like, this is a guy who knows what he's doing. And the whole company's full of people like that. And the thing is, he was jovial and laughing the whole time and making jokes and having us try things. And like, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to break it. He's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. They're really easygoing. It's definitely a company of people that love the brand.
You have to go to Wetzlar. If you've never been to the factory, you could do a factory tour whenever that you schedule online. It's amazing, and the people there are incredible. And there's a hotel right there. You can stay there. You can sleep at the factory. Dream about lenses. That's what I do. Okay, back on track, David.
Yeah,
I have questions for you. I have myths. You have
I just
there more things.
There's a myth. Someone dropped a myth.
All right, fire. You want me to ask you? You want to ask me?
You can ask me.
Who is this?
This one here.
Panasonic is a technical partner, and Zeiss developed the M8 electronics.
So that's half true.
Okay.
Panasonic is a longtime technology partner of Leica. They've been working together since 2002 on the original Digilux, I believe.
Yeah.
and they have partnered ever since then. So a lot of the autofocus technology, the depth from defocus that they used previously, as well as the hybrid contrast phase detect autofocus system, yes, that is Panasonic technology. Leica does not make a secret of that. They leverage it because why reinvent what works?
Yeah, I mean, if Leica can do everything they can do in-house, but then bring a partner in who can do things better, that they can design to their specifications, I applaud them for that. I want them to do that, yeah.
So, but I will say the Zeiss developing the M8, not true. The M8 electronics were one of the reasons that it was quirky, more quirky than later generations like the M9, is the M8 was partnered with Jenoptik.
Oh, yes.
Which is, no one's ever heard of Jenoptik. Jenoptik was a German medium format digital company that basically got absorbed by Hasselblad / Imicon, I believe, and so that they could make digital backs for Hasselblad. Well, Imicon was, and then, I don't know, somewhere along the line, Jenoptik got absorbed into that Hasselblad fold. Leica didn't have a partner at the time, and the partnership wasn't fantastic. So they, I believe from the M9 forward, they had their own in-house digital team. And then ultimately, when they came out with the M240 and the S2, those had the Maestro processor in it, which was custom silicon rather than going from off-the-shelf stuff that they had worked with Jenoptik. And they were able to really grow by leaps and bounds in terms of performance with the Maestro series processors. So, half true?
Okay.
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 Now I
Anything
have
else?
to ask you because I've been
Oh, okay.
I've been talking.
Fire away. I can always blather on about something. That's my specialty.
There you go.
Oh, sure.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the myth, David?
Here's the myth. Leicas are fragile and delicate and only jewelry. They're not meant to be used.
Yep.
They're not even meant to be breathed on.
That's right. Well, if that was really true, there would be a pile of shattered Leicas both here and underneath the table. Instead of just a pile of your snack crumbs. It's not unusual to associate something that is premium with something that may be delicate.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of Leicas are underutilized, but Leicas are designed to be used. What I mean is, if you talk to anyone who's involved in the Leica design process, whether that's industrial design, the mechanical side, electrical side, they'll all tell you, like, we make these cameras to be used. When the M Edition 60 came out, that David's talking about, it had no strap lugs because it looked prettier. Fine. Now, they gave you a custom-made case, half case, that had a strap on it. Why would they do that if they didn't want you to use the camera? I think that really exemplifies that, right? If they didn't want you to use it, or if they didn't think it was going to be used, they wouldn't even bother designing. They only made 600 of those cameras, so they had to pay all this money just to make 600 cases, and that's it. So if you hold a Leica, whether it's a modern Leica or a vintage Leica, and you just use it, you activate some of the buttons and the features, you will realize, of course, that they are not fragile. Now, I'm not saying you could drop it off a cliff and it'll be fine, but David has definitely dropped his cameras down glaciers and crevasses and other various geological features, and they've somehow managed to survive.
Most of them, yeah.
So I think
it's like C in the dictionary, whatever. Yes, if you ever have been on a workshop with me, you know that this stuff does not get babied at all. Not just by me, but I set the example. I make sure everyone beats the crap out of their stuff.
I mean, just go online and search Leica M3 for sale. You'll find hundreds of them, maybe thousands of them if you look at the global marketplace. If that camera was so delicate, how could they possibly survive after 70 plus years? So, like anything, if you don't take care of it, sure, it can break, but they're designed to be used. They are designed to be used for generations.
Yes.
Especially looking towards the past and looking at the way these cameras have been preserved. Look at these extremely brassed black paint M2s, M3s, M4s, and MPs, the cameras that have no paint left, and they still work. Even digital cameras. Look at the M8. You can use an M8 today. You can buy a battery for it. You can get it serviced. You can get lenses for it because the mount hasn't changed. So, in fact, I've seen the M8 market have an uptick, especially M8.2s, which are like the coolest thing ever. If anybody has one, please send it to me. I still think that these cameras are incredibly usable, even 10, 15 years later, because they were designed to be used. And the beauty of the M system in particular, like I just said, is that you never have to worry about having an outdated lens mount. You have M3 all the way to M11P and everything in between will all take the M lens. Now, there are a few like collapsible things and weird things that don't work on certain bodies, so don't call me out in the chat. But the overwhelming majority of M lenses will work on every M camera. I think it's your turn now.
I'm gonna ask you one more.
Oh,
along the same lines, because you mentioned it. I was like, I gotta ask you because I know you're passionate about this.
Do it.
Okay, here is the myth. Black paint cameras were always collectible.
No, definitely not. Black paint cameras were in response to photographers, professional photographers who wanted something a little more discreet. There's a myth that they were special order. Only some were special order. You can look in older Leica catalogs like I have and see, Black paint M3, Black paint M2 listed there. So no, they weren't always exclusively super secret special order. But overwhelmingly, the silver cameras were what sold. The finish was more durable. It didn't brass. But professional photographers wanted something more discreet. So Leica just painted the brass instead of anodizing it in silver. So now black paint cameras have become crazy collectible because of how rare they are and how a lot of them were used by high profile photographers. And so the provenance adds a lot of value. And I think it's beautiful, but they weren't made in period in the 60s and 70s to be collectible, or 50s and 60s. Now Leica does both. Leica makes the Black Paint MP, which is a production camera, not limited edition. They've been making it for 20 years. Not at all collectible in that sense, but they've also done really beautiful black paint special editions. Sure. They do a good job of mixing the things around.
They also make the glossy black.
Right, I was just going to say, you have the glossy black M11, which is not limited. So fortunately, even though black paint isn't as widespread as the other finishes, it's not super exclusive. It's not solely limited special editions. There are ways to get it in production products. But definitely some of the older stuff in black paint is really valuable.
Because it's rare.
Yeah, exactly.
What am I asking you? When did I ask about this as a follow-up? Because we touched on it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna editorialize that comment.
Okay.
So Leica was drowning and suffering and in need of a lifeline. And just as the lights are about to go out, they joined the L-Mount Alliance and they were saved. A beam of light came down and everything was fine.
Wow, that's way more dramatic.
I told you.
Okay. I kind of like the original phrasing, but that's okay.
You can read it if you want.
Yeah, the original myth is basically that the L-Mount Alliance, that Leica went to Panasonic because they were a longtime technology partner, and they went to Sigma and they said, hey, we need lenses for this new mirrorless camera, and we need some help. That's not true. So the L-Mount, as I said, originated from the original T-Type 701, and Leica engineered it originally not just to be for APS, but also to be full frame coverage as well. Because a lot of people said, wow, that's a lot of empty space around the sensor that you have there. So they engineered it that way, and they created a lot of the technology in the TL lenses that ultimately became SL lenses. And they created, I actually have a whole interview with Stefan Schultz, who is the head of professional division. He is now happily retired, living back in Hamburg and traveling and having a great time with his family. But if you read that interview that I did with him, he actually gave a lot of really interesting detail on how the L-Mounts Alliance came to be. He was having a meeting with counterparts and engineers in Tokyo with Panasonic about something unrelated. So it was, about autofocus or whatever. Okay. They were just having a meeting about other tech things that engineers talk about. And they said, hey, we're thinking about coming out with a mirrorless camera, but we don't really want to invest in a new lens mount. Do you guys have anything that we could work with? And he, with the 12, or no, I don't even know how many hours, with the huge amount of time difference, he's like, excuse me for a second. He went outside the room, got on his phone, called Dr. Kaufmann at home and said, they're asking me about this. And remember that project that we have with the whole mirrorless camera that we're looking at? They're interested in the lens mount. What do you think? No board meeting, no team of executives, just Stefan and Dr. Kaufmann. And they're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go for it. He went in the room. They shook on it. and the L-mount alliance was born. They invited Sigma to join the party too. And there you go. And they announced it at Photokina later that year. And it's kind of amazing that there was no bureaucracy. There was no negotiations.
Quick call.
It was just like a quick call. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it. So when the SL came out and they announced the L-mount alliance, really Panasonic was looking for a mount that was already engineered that they could incorporate into their upcoming cameras. So if you actually look at the press event, which I was at in Germany, they announced the L-mount alliance at the joint event, and then everyone went out of the room, and then Panasonic had an event where they announced their, I don't remember, R something camera. Yeah, so they announced their camera following the L-mount alliance that used the L-mount. And I think Sigma announced the FP and whatever. So they announced cameras that used the L-mount. And the great thing about the L-mount alliance that Leica recognized is they're a relatively small company and they can't make everything. I mean, they made a lot of things. How many lenses do we have now for the SL system?
I've lost count. Yeah. A lot.
A lot. But for instance, that astrophotography workshop that Jose just came back from, I wasn't there, but I'm gonna bet that at least half of the people were shooting with the 14-1.4 Sigma art lens on their SL2s or SL3Ss.
Yes, correct. Very popular lens for astrophotography, and yeah. Leica doesn't make something equal to that, so yeah, we're great.
And the thing is, it's something that's so niche and specialized. Leica doesn't want to invest in that. They don't want to invest, and it's a massively large lens. When you have a 14 millimeter that has its own tripod foot,
yeah,
and a carry case, like, you know that it's a specialized lens. And it's fantastic for astrophotography. And Leica is like, great, take advantage of our L-mount alliance partners. And the L-mount alliance has now grown to include DJI, and there's now Light Cine just came out with a native L-mount Cine lens. So there is, I'm missing a lot of partners in the L-mount alliance, but there's quite a few now. So Leica actually led the way. That's another one of their kind of innovations of creating and investing in a new lens mount technology that was really well thought out. And now they meet like, biannually or something like that. And they come up and make sure that all the lenses that go on L-mount cameras adhere to a certain agreed standard, which Leica sets.
Sweet. I'm going to ask you another one.
Oh, okay.
I got to find one first. We have some good ones.
Yeah, there is.
Well, we've talked about a lot of myths. We haven't really talked about a lot of legendary, iconic things. Maybe that's going to have to be a part 2, because obviously it's like almost 10 o'clock. So I think we can stick with the myths. I'm going to ask you this one.
Oh, no.
Because
that's loaded.
No matter how many times you talk about it, it still comes up. Not as much now as it did a couple years ago. David.
Yes.
The myth is.
Yes.
CCD color is better than CMOS. CMOS is just garbage.
Josh is trying to trigger me right now. Trigger warning. CCD has, admittedly, a unique look to it.
Oh, that's so politically correct of me to say.
I know. But ostensibly, objectively, the modern sensor technology is superior. And when I say superior, I don't mean like, oh, technically this, technically. Better ISO performance, better dynamic range, and if you actually process your photos, you can get, equally good or better color out of it, especially in the shadows where CCD falls a little bit short. That being said, I hear and I understand. I do.
Here comes the empathy.
Here's the empathy. Okay, I understand. I shot the M9 for years. Like, it's a big, great camera. And there's a place in my heart for the M9. It just sits right next to the M240, right? Yeah, it has an easily achievable look without a lot of work. I get it. And that's why, here's my pitch, that's why I have presets for all the cameras.
Yeah, not all the cameras.
Not all the cameras. Most of the cameras.
A lot of the cameras.
Most of the cameras. So when someone says, well, what do you think of the out-of-camera look? It's like, I don't know. I haven't looked at the out-of-camera look in years because I have presets for all Leica cameras that I personally use, that I also publish on Red Dot Forum, where you can just download them for free. no charge. Fair warning, they are geared towards landscape photography, which is primarily what I do. So
it's a good starting point.
It's a good starting point, but a bit aggressive for people. I will admit that. And maybe when I discover lots of free time, I'll go back and make portrait versions, but that's a in the future kind of thing.
The far future.
The far future, the maybe never future. And basically, when I import into Lightroom, I apply the preset specific to the camera, so everything comes in pretty uniformly. So, for instance, and I know I've talked about this previously, but that's the same thing of like, oh, an M has a look, and an SL has a look, and an M11 looks like this, and an M10 looks like that. In my catalog, all the pictures look the same. I mean, in a good way. They're consistent in terms of the color reproduction, the tonality, very, very consistent.
And I think, just to sort of tangent a little bit from that, that's as important as it is for David's ability to do that technically, it's equally as important to know what you want.
Sure.
Because the reason David can do that, the reason David can get his files to have that consistent look
magic.
Is because he knows the look that he wants.
It's not magic?
It's not. So. And that's obviously, it doesn't happen overnight. It took him a long time to get to that point. But I really think that was a great thing you just said, because it's really important not just to have the greatest tool, but to know what you want out of it. Mm-hmm. And so because David knows his style, he knows what he likes, he's able to then reverse engineer that into the presets, into the editing process. And I always encourage everyone using like our editing cameras to do the same, which is don't just look at the results out of the camera and call it a day. Like, understand that you're in control. Mm-hmm. You can make the photo look however you want. And there are tons of amazing resources, some free, some not, to learn how to use Lightroom, Photoshop, Capture One. We offer Lightroom training and Photoshop training. You can do by the hour with us. So you have this opportunity to learn how to use those tools to get the images to look the way you saw in your head. And once you develop that workflow, it will just evolve over time as the tools evolve, so that you're always getting the look you want.
Yes. Yeah. There's something I do want to talk about.
Let's do it.
And we touched on it a lot. I think it's been a through topic through this entire episode. Mm-hmm. You know, we didn't talk as much about the cameras and the lenses specifically. What did we really talk about? The people over the years that have made these wonderful things, the people that designed them, the people that built them, the people that enabled the company to stay in business to be able to do this, the inventors. And I think that is something, to me, that really separates Leica from other brands. And I don't mean just camera companies. I mean almost any other brand. Generally speaking, you know, maybe we know, like, Johnny Ive or something at Apple, right? Or maybe you know the head designer at Porsche or something. Do you know who that is?
Currently? No.
Okay, see?
I do. I just can't pronounce his name,
right.
Actually. I should take it back.
But maybe you know, like, one or two key people, maybe more at Apple, because they do those keynotes.
Yeah, they try really hard.
Yeah, they introduce all the people.
Yeah.
But largely, when you have technology companies, listen, if you buy a NVIDIA graphics card, like, you don't know who made it. Yeah. You don't know who designed it. You don't know who created the design for the case and the fan and what. No, nobody cares. They just wanted to make, AI faster. Behind Leica, though, is a group of really dedicated, really passionate people that we have had the pleasure and the honor of knowing and getting to know and having amazing conversations over the years. And it's not like, we have some secret access. These people are out there. Like, you could go to Wetzlar, hang out at the Lights Cafe.
You do have to go there, but yes, you can hang out at the Lights Cafe.
And you see them. Like,
they're just wandering around. They're just people
wandering around
at work. That's it.
Right. And you will see them because they're just going to work, right? And Stefan Daniel, who we ran into, we're like, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh, good. I had to get my jumper cables and someone, it's like, they're just people, right? But they have such an incredible influence and legacy over what we're so passionate about. They're almost like this celebrity status, but ultimately it's that modern day, like, they are the modern day Oskar Barnacks and Max Barracks of the future. And I think it's the people and the personality behind the products that really gets me so inspired. And, knowing that these people have been there for so long, they're so dedicated, and they're so passionate about really delivering that Leica experience through and through. And whether that's, Peter Karba and his now Dietmar Stubel, and their team of optical designers, how many products can you say, pick up a Sony lens and say like, oh, that was designed by X, Y, and Z.
I mean, don't hate on Sony. But
I'm not hating on Sony. I'm just saying, I'm using an example. Like,
someone's gonna yell at us.
Right.
Do that.
So the 50 Apo was designed by Peter Karba.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not like secret.
Yeah.
Most people know.
We've had coffee with him. Like we've sat and had conversations with him. And that's that human connection, that sort of personal investment that these people are making into the brand, I think is what's helped it stay relevant for so long and what's helped kept things fun and interesting. And I really, like you said, I really do think it helps Leica stand out in a very crowded, not just with cameras, but just in the marketplace in general of like cool things, lust-worthy objects, has really helped them stand out. And these people don't hide behind their office doors. No. You go to an LSI event, they're there.
Yeah.
You go to an event at the factory, they're there. And in Porto, they're there. They make themselves known. They're on social media. They interact with with the users, with the dealers. They go to these things. So I encourage you to take advantage of that access when you can. Now, I realize everyone just wants to ask them, well, they want to do one of two things.
When is
XYZ coming? Or I want this one obscure feature, please do it, which is fine. They love your enthusiasm. But you should really get to know them. Ask them their story.
Although sometimes they're way more frank than you would expect. Because, so Kirsten and I were at an event. It was COP, Celebration Photography 2022. And we're at a little cocktail hour in the in the Lights Museum, and that was the venue, and they were doing hors d'oeuvres and whatever, and we ran into Stefan Daniel again, and he's having some hors d'oeuvres, and like Kirsten, I think she's like, I love my Q, but the SL2S is just amazing for low light. Like, have you guys thought about, you have the Q2 is great, but have you thought about making like a Q2S? And, I'm fully expecting like, oh, well, some diplomatic answer. And he, between bites, he's like, a sensor didn't fit. It's like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, yeah, we tried it. It didn't fit. Good idea, though. It's like, okay, great. Like, so sometimes you will get a very blunt answer. Or like when we ran into Dietmar Stubel, who's now the head of optics, who was... cut his teeth on the SL system.
It's 2018, right?
And the S system too.
Yeah.
So he designed some S lenses, and he's the kind of mastermind behind the Apo Summicron line. And just cool guy. The first time I ran into him, he was manning the booth at Photokina. Like I wanted to see, I don't know, I think the new 100mm Summicron for the S system. And he handed it to me. And I didn't know who he was. He had his little name tag, and I was like, can I take your picture? I took his picture. And I said, oh, what do you do at Leica? He's like, oh, I designed that lens. I'm like, which lens? The one you're shooting with. I was like,
that's so cool.
Really? He's like, yeah. I was like, what other lenses did you design? He's like, I did the 30 to 90. I'm like, okay, what's your name again? like, why are you working the booth? He's like, well, they wanted, people volunteer to be able to work with customers and show them the products, and who knows the lenses better than the one who designed them.
There you go.
I was like, that's great. So we ran into him years after that, and we were sitting down, just like, it was actually 2018.
Yeah, Lightspark 3.
Lightspark 3.
I remember.
And we had one of these, like, because we asked the same, like, would you do this? When is this coming? We asked the same question.
We are worse than everyone who's watching the show.
Right. So, and at the time, the 90 to 280 was the only tele option, and he designed the 90 to 280, and we said, okay, here's out. Telephoto extender for the 90 to 280. And he said, oh, no, we have one already. Like, and here's the sense of humor, right? The CL.
Oh, I was so mad. I was like, that's not what I meant.
So it's really, I think it's really fascinating, like Josh says, how accessible they are. And just that you can point and say, this person, you can almost see the fingerprints. Like, I can look at the APS system, I can look at the CL and the TL and XU and these really innovative products, and I can look at the S camera at the same time. Well, all these three cameras were designed by the same person, Micah Harberts. And it just has her fingerprints all over it in terms of how willing she is to push the envelope in terms of design.
Yeah.
So it's really, I don't know, it's just really fascinating as you're around it longer and really appreciate the people behind it. Again, the personalities behind the products.
I think that's a great way to end the show.
I think so too.
It's 10 o'clock. Well done. This was fun. Man, we covered a lot, but also not nearly enough. So we may have to do a part 2. I don't know when our next show is scheduled. Do we know? Let's see.
We have a lot of travel coming up.
I know. I'm looking at our calendar. Let's see. I should do this before we do the show, but whatever. Not the 27th. Not the 4th. Not the 11th. I guess we haven't figured it out yet. So stay tuned to know when the next show is going to be, because we don't know either. But it could be a Saturday. It could be a weekday. It could be on your front yard. You never know. We just show it in places. Is there anything like crazy we have to get to before the show?
I don't know. Jose, I've been blathering on.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we can save some of these for next time.
Is there any like pressing things we can answer rapid fire here?
That was a good question.
Yeah.
Maybe we can answer this quickly.
Yeah.
M3s are the best made, highest quality components, smoothest M camera there is.
I don't know. I mean, having played with all of them, I think, okay, look, if you've used only an M3 for 40 years and then switched to any other camera, yeah, it's going to feel different. I don't know if I would say it's the smooth. I mean, I don't know. That's a subjective thing. I would say it's not as dramatic for most people, but look, if you love the M3, you can still buy one. You can still get it serviced. So it's not like
it's the best M film camera ever made.
For some people, I mean, the best is a strong word, because the best for who, right? If you really want to shoot 28, don't get an M3 unless you want to use an external finder or a guess.
This is going to be my excuse to say, watch our analog
good
episode,
point. Yeah.
Because we went through every single.
We're gonna redo that one. It's been a long time, I know.
But we went through and had every single generation of analog M cameras, except for like original MPs or something.
Right. Well, if we redo the show, I'll get that stuff. So
yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anything else?
No, that's it.
That's it.
Sign us off, Mr.
We won.
Farkas. We did it. We won and we win.
I get to go home and pack.
And
I get to leave again.
And I get to go home and then go to work on
Yay! All right. Wow, we made it. Hopefully you guys found that interesting, fascinating. Maybe I'd be curious. Drop a comment when the video goes out on or archive on YouTube. We do read those, and I am curious if you learned anything new, or if you ready new things, or if you think we could know a thing or two.
That's right.
Because
we are frequently wrong. Not frequently.
We are often mistaken.
Yes, but we like learning new things, so
we love learning new things.
That's okay.
Keeps life interesting.
Exactly.
But hopefully you found it fascinating, interesting. We didn't put you to sleep, or if you were looking for us to put you to sleep and we did, then we succeeded.
That's right.
So you win.
That's right.
Otherwise,
the melatonin hour with David and Josh.
We'll be back.
We don't know. Sometime between now and the end of the universe.
The best way to know
That's about right.
when we're going to have an upcoming episode is to subscribe to the YouTube Red Dot Forum channel. Make sure you click the notification bell so you know when we post new content. And on top of that, if you look in the description of the video, you can subscribe to the Leica Store Miami newsletter, and we actually publish ahead of time when we're going to be doing episodes, usually a few days ahead. And also, the best way to support this channel, apart from liking the video and subscribing to the channel, is also if you're looking or considering making any Leica purchase, consider doing it at Leica Store Miami. We are independently owned and operated, and we're out here giving you, hopefully, all the education, know-how, and advice to make informed decisions on your own. But we are also happy to help you, and you can give a ring, an email, or come into the beautiful store in Coral Gables.
We're here.
Or visit us online at LeicaStoreMiami.com. Yes. Again, link in the description below. That's the end of my little sales pitch. Be sure to check out previous episodes of Red Dot Forum Camera Talk on YouTube if you're new here, because we have almost 90-ish something episodes, a lot of episodes covering numerous topics, some more gear focused, some more anthology, some more whatever. We've got something for everyone. Big thanks to Josh for his boundless knowledge.
Never seems to end, right?
Thanks to Jose for keeping things running smoothly. And big thanks to you guys, because you could be anywhere else on a Saturday night or whenever you're watching this, and you're here with us, and we really appreciate it. We love sharing our enthusiasm with you and love the community supporting us. So big thanks to you, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks a lot, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.